Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlog Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel, and this is my perfectly on-time co-host, Aiden Buhner, and today we are here to talk about something perfectly on time. You know what it is. You click the video. Sonic Forces, just came out. All the rage. Everyone's talking about it, and we have to get our thoughts out there. As burgeoning Sonic fans that the two of us are, but if you want to talk to us about Sonic, we've been talking a lot of Sonic in our Discord channel, which you can join the link top of the description. And of course, while you're down there, you can subscribe to the channel, you can ring the bell, you can leave a comment, you can like a video. Just get your fingers on your mouse and just click all over the screen, and hopefully some of those things will happen.
The 2017's platforming opus, I believe they call it.
Yeah. There was no other competition that year, I believe.
No. So Tucker, here's what's interesting about Sonic Forces, right? I have
A
loved
lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
I have loved Sonic since I was a little kid. But I didn't have that many Sonic games. The main one I played a lot of was Sonic Rush Adventure. It's not remembered that well. The game is fondly liked, but people don't talk about it very often.
Sure.
So I was playing that, and I had one of the Sonic collections on PS2. I had Sonic Heroes, so I played a little bit of Sonic here and there, right? But then Sonic kind of fades from my life.
Sure.
And then I'm in quarantine, right? And it's my last night of quarantine. I'm sitting there. I know that the next day I'm going to be out. So I want something I can play just for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And I say, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which I've never beaten despite playing many times in my life,
Sure.
is a very short game. I've got a couple hours to kill. I've got rewind. Let's do it. I do that. Think the game's great. I play Sonic Generations, which I had played in the past. I used to play that on my mom's computer, running at like 24 frames a second, but it was Sonic,
Yeah, as
care.
it should be.
Played it. Thought the game was also great. And then I say to you, Tucker, my next Sonic game can be Sonic Adventure, can be Sonic Lost World, or it can be Sonic Forces. Those are the three that I imminently have access to at this very second.
Sure. Yeah.
And you tell me in all capital letters, Sonic Forces. So we both play this game. I had played this very briefly for less than an hour in the past. But we ostensibly both came to Sonic Forces completely fresh.
Completely fresh as both players of what this game was going to be from a story perspective or evolution on the Sonic formula perspective, but also just in general, because what the fuck are we going to do with Sonic Forces? Right. Nobody talks about it anymore.
So with all this context, I'm a long-time Sonic fan since getting back into beating like almost a Sonic game a day. You're here matching my energy all of a sudden, and now we're here talking about Sonic Forces. The reason that preamble is important is because I want to properly set the stage for me asking you the following question.
Yes.
High level, Tucker Hazel, what do you think of Sonic Forces?
Now, I believe you're doing this preamble not for my response, but for your response to my response. But on my side, Sonic Forces is probably one of the most peculiar games I've ever played from most metrics. As someone who is not invested in Sonic, my experience with Sonic is rather limited. Not because I didn't have access to it. I could have easily gone and bought Sonic games, but because I never found the character or his attitude very appealing. The gameplay when I had tried it was not really up my alley, especially because I'm not particularly a pure 2D platforming fan in general. So playing Sonic Forces as ostensibly the first Sonic game that I beat to completion other than Mania, which I played when it came out.
Amazing game.
Yeah, which is a very good game.
Overshadowed by Forces in 2017.
Certainly my favorite Sonic game I've completed. Was frustrating, but also kind of therapeutic in a way, because it kind of just crystallized, and I know this is one of the worst games in the series, but presumably, as we might talk about, crystallized, this is why I don't like Sonic, because this is bad. And maybe it's the worst example of all these things I don't like about Sonic, but man, it really served to prove to me, it's like, okay, I wasn't just losing my mind. There is an element to Sonic's persona and momentum and gameplay and game design and characters that really does not work for me. And I think this game is a just giant example of what happens if you don't have like care or focus put into a video game.
So you're right, but you're wrong. And this is and I've been thinking about this because as soon as I played about an hour and a half of this game, I'm like, oh fuck, because I knew that you didn't like Sonic going in.
Yeah.
And here's what I thought, and the reason why I think you're both right and wrong. First of all, I think the game sucks.
Yeah.
Second of all, what I thought about in my head is you saying yes, And this is proof as to why Sonic is bad, is the
Sure.
equivalent of somebody who doesn't watch MCU movies watching Morbius and saying, yes, this is why superhero movies are
Great
bad.
point. Great point.
And so the reason I said that is because I'll be very interested to have the same conversation with you after you play Sonic Generations,
Sure.
which is
Just for
Sonic.
context, I also beat Sonic Advance within the last few years,
Sure.
which is a significantly better game.
Yeah.
But it does have some of my same issues. So
Right. And so when you play some Sonic games of actual quality, I'll be super excited to talk about like the larger Sonic formula.
Sure.
Because
Okay,
to
okay.
me,
Yeah,
this is as fucked up as the formula could possibly be. And
I
I
know.
used to
I
play a
certainly
lot,
recognize that.
and
Yeah.
I used to play a lot of Sonic '06 with my cousin.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know bad Sonic. And this is awful Sonic. So all I want to say is you're totally right, but you're making these
I
claims
could be
based.
wrong. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
right.
understand. I think
But
we're on the same page here,
yes,
actually.
but I want to also read my not my letterbox review, my backlog review for this game.
It's not
I
very
wrote
long.
no, I say 1.5 stars. Regrettably, I think I have a new guilty pleasure
Yeah.
because Tucker, I am not going to for 1 second sit here and defend this game from any stance of objectivity at all.
Sure.
I think that with rare exception, every element of this game is categorically bad.
Sure.
However, there is a certain quality to the campiness,
Mhm.
to the playability of the game, because so much of this game is automated for you.
Sure.
That
That's a
it
good point.
was breezy and fun. I think this game is fun if you can buy into its concepts. This is a game because here, as I said this in Discord, if Sonic Forces had 2 more years of development, it would be a great game.
Yes, I remember you saying that and being like, "What?" I couldn't understand that at first, but as I was playing more of the game, I was like, "No, I know what he means here. Is
Yeah.
this game it's kind of you start with this, and then you build on it. You polish things up. You make
Right.
sure that this thing works. You make sure the level design is ironed out. You make sure that the story makes sense. You add some extra things, some side content, whatever. This game is the bare bones of something. It needs another, like, essentially actual game put on top of it to feel concrete."
Yeah, because I think that conceptually the game is actually really fucking cool.
Sure.
Basically, the Sonic Forces is about what happens if Dr. Eggman takes over the world,
Yeah.
if Sonic loses. And that's
It's-
a cool concept.
It's the Infinity War and Endgame of it's the Endgame of Sonic. You've got the world is fucked up. The heroes have lost. All of Sonic's friends are coming back to fight with him at the end of the day. Yeah, that sure is the story, isn't it?
Right. And I think basically immediately the problems become apparent. And I think actually the story is a fantastic vehicle into all of the game's issues.
Sure, perfect.
Because the story introduces the Avatar character, which I think you can go one of 2 ways with the Avatar character. You can do what you did and make a fucked up looking Sonic the Hedgehog,
Yeah, I did.
or you can do what I did and be like, okay, you have to accept the cringe and you lean into it. And so my character looks like a badass. I'm going to be honest with you.
Sure, okay.
He's decked out in all this gear. For what Sonic is, for the fandom, for all of that, it's an amazing idea. Executed terribly. And I want to talk about this from a gameplay perspective, but I think the biggest issue with the narrative, Tucker, not only does it not make sense, and I want to talk about key examples, but
Sure,
every
plenty of them.
cutscene begins and ends 90 seconds before it's supposed to.
Sure, yeah. They certainly are all kind of gimped in a way, and I do
Yes.
think that just to talk a little bit about the Avatar. Yes, I made a fucked up Sonic with like bug eyes and just like I tried to replicate Sonic as much as possible, but a little bit off.
Sure.
And then of course I put the gamer hat on him, and that was my character.
I can't believe I
but
put that in the game.
it's really fucking funny. There's a lot of funny customizable shit in this game. But that was my experience with it. Not because I don't think that I actually will say I do think that the idea of essentially weaponizing Sonic OCs to be he's got a picture
That's
of this
mine.
guy. Oh, that's a pretty cool character actually. But weaponizing Sonic OCs and putting them into a gameplay format where you're able to create a character and it gives you some unlockables and reveal stages. All of that I actually think is great. And I think that that's probably the biggest element this game has going for it in terms of it's a unique element that they never did in Sonic before. It works to the extent that it's supposed to. I do think the customizability is actually surprisingly in depth, and the character models are pretty good. Like there's nothing wrong with the idea of the Avatar. I think in execution it's fine, but I think when it's shoehorned into this story and these levels and this gameplay philosophy, That's where the problem with the Avatar comes in. And as you're
Yeah,
talking about with the cutscenes, involving your character, which can look as wacky as you want, in the cutscenes, most of the cutscenes is fun. Like that's a
I
great
agree.
idea. It adds a little bit of charm, but it also shows that there's a level of polish that's missing from certain elements of this game.
They try, and they also try to give him a backstory, which is not very deep, but I think it's
Yeah,
totally fine. You
sure.
know, Infinite comes and you're this little piss baby, and you grow up to then be the hero of Sonic's Resistance, or actually
Mm-hmm.
Knuckles' Resistance, because he's the commander.
Great point.
Even though they repeatedly say he's an idiot and a shithead and is not smart enough to do anything, which I think is a really funny twist. But Tucker, the Avatar is not the main problem with the narrative. And it's
No.
not even the plot holes. Those are also not the main problem. The main problem is classic Sonic.
Oh, interesting.
Classic
Okay.
Sonic
Yeah.
has
Oh, yeah.
no fucking business being in this game.
No.
And the reason that I said that Sonic Generations is just Sonic Forces but better is because this is a Sonic Generations sequel
Yeah.
in which classic Sonic shows up for no fucking purpose but to have classic Sonic gameplay.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about the gameplay, but the gameplay is where the game really goes to shit. But what do you think about the inclusion of classic Sonic? Because I feel like I have to keep putting it in quotes because it's like it's immaterial that that's who the character is.
Well, because it's not a character. It's the idea of Sonic. It's like, hey, let's take let's take what people thought of Sonic back in the day, and like, hey, we've sort of reworked him into this thing. And you remember when
Right.
the good old days used to be, when Sonic was stubbier and he didn't say too much, and his levels were all 2D. Like, it's the idea of classic Sonic that they want to have in this game for variety, which I think works to its benefit in a bit, because there is 2D gameplay and 3D
Yeah.
gameplay and whatever, and the characters do play differently. But from a story perspective, the fact that they could not find a better fucking way to introduce it and subsequently remove and incorporate this character, other than he shows up and Tails is like, well, guess Eggman's bullshit, brought you in
Yeah.
from another dimension. That's it. That's and he doesn't say anything. He's not voiced. He's not really involved in most of the cutscenes, and then he leaves.
And so, and you have something really important there that it, like tries to capture like the feel of like 90s Sonic.
Sure.
But this is like the caricature of the feel of 90s Sonic. This is where it really bothers me because it is, as you're saying, it's a complete contrivance.
Mm-hmm.
Putting this right on the back of Sonic Generations, I think, is interesting because that's how it shows that you can do classic Sonic in a way that's completely predicated on nostalgia, but doesn't feel as transparent as it does here.
Yeah.
Because then at least he has classic Tails to play off of. He has classic Dr. Eggman to play off of.
Yeah.
And he's also integral to the narrative of time is being shrunken. So we're
The
going
Sonic series has got all these elements coming to it.
we're going through this classic Sonic's Genesis era. So modern Sonic is the fish out of water there. But then we end up in the Dreamcast and modern era and classic Sonic's fish out of water there. So he's integrated into every facet of the experience here. As you're saying, not even the case at all. He basically shows up just to do shit. And there's a whole like arc of the narrative where Tails like doesn't know that Sonic is alive.
Yeah.
Because okay, let's break this down for a moment, Tucker. Let's break down the plot of Sonic Forces.
The plot of Sonic Forces is actually surprisingly less complicated than it might seem at face value if you're watching all these cutscenes. Dr. Eggman has found the
Phantom
Prime
Ruby.
Thank you, the Phantom Ruby. I really missed that first part. The Phantom Ruby, which he has given to a guy named Infinite, who can now use the Phantom Ruby's powers to bring back the projected versions of all Sonic's classic villains.
Chaos, Metal Sonic, Zavok, and Shadow. And that's all of them?
No, Shadow. Oh, Shadow. Yeah,
because the real Shadow shows up and then punches fake Shadow.
It's a whole fucking thing. But they've taken over the world. Sonic is dead. He's killed by all these projections of his villains, who you don't know are projections. And then the Resistance, made of just Sonic's friends, and then a whole army of nonsense NPCs.
A whole army of them.
Have to rise up and defeat Dr. Eggman. And the only element in there that really complicates things a tiny bit is that Sonic is actually alive, and he's on the fucking Death Egg, which is the Death Star, and then he escapes.
So there's many things we have to unpack just in the premise. First of all, the premise is fucking cool. I love the premise of the game.
I actually think that's probably the best part of this game, is when you tell me you're getting all the Sonic's buddies together and Eggman's taking over the world. It's a little bit darker, and Sonic's been killed and they have to fight back and stuff. Like, on face value, Yeah, that's the end game of Sonic. Even as someone who's not a Sonic fan, I can feel that there's an idea of reverence and camaraderie here and maturity. An
So,
idea, mind you.
again, it's all down to execution. First of all, the twist. First, obviously, Sonic isn't dead, so I didn't really feel cheated. This didn't feel like the fucking coconut cup game with Chewbacca's life in the ships and Rise of Skywalker, which I still hate. It was obvious Sonic's alive. It's how we handle Sonic being alive that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. He's on the death egg. First, okay, this game is such there's so many problems. Macro, let's address a macro issue here. This game has the Star Fox Zero problem.
Okay, I haven't played that game, so I can't agree or disagree. You'll have to explain.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Saying the Star Fox Zero problem implies that Star Fox Zero has one problem. One of the main problems with Star Fox Zero is that it rehashes Star Fox 64.
Sure.
And so much of its identity is tied to poking at Star Fox 64.
Yeah.
This game goes to the fucking Death Egg, to Chemical Plant Zone, to Green Hill Zone, back to Green Hill Zone. So many motifs, locations, boss fights are just pulled from past games.
Yeah.
And it just ends up feeling really unsatisfying as a result, because it's like such a cool high concept thing, right? But then it devolves into, okay, we're going to riff on the same levels. Not only did Mania just riff on 5 months ago, way fucking better, but we are going to do it exactly how Generations did it, but worse.
Yeah.
And
that's the one thing I know about Generations is it kind of introduced this idea of mixing 2D and 3D Sonic and making the whole franchise feel a little more cohesive and stuff like that. And Forces doesn't seem to have its own spin on that other than the avatar, which doesn't meaningfully contribute to the structure of the game in a large way.
Basically, because we got to have the gameplay is the thing we really have to address.
We do have to talk about it, and a lot of other aspects of the game as well.
But the avatar, from a narrative perspective, it makes sense because Sonic is dead, so you're here to fill his void, and so you have to go rescue Sonic. And because the plot starts out fine. My first indication that things are going to shit is how you rescue Sonic. Basically, through fucking Bothan spy-esque intel, you learn that Sonic has been tortured for months by Eggman on the Death Egg.
Being kept kept on the edge of his life to see his homeworld burn when Eggman's done with his plan.
Right. So the Avatar zips there to try to rescue Sonic.
Yeah.
The camera, you just begin a mission, and Sonic is in prison. He's bound at the wrists.
Yeah.
Iconic Sonic character Zavok of Lost World fame shows up to execute Sonic.
No, I think he's just like saying something like, "Hey, Eggman's plan's coming to fruition soon," or something like that.
Well, see, my reading of the scene at first was that Zavok was going to be here.
I don't want to do textual reading of fucking Sonic Forces cutscenes, please.
But I thought he was gonna. But it is important because I thought that the concept of the scene was that Zavok was going to be here, say, "Take off your restraints. I don't want to. I want to kill you. I don't want to just see you killed." Right?
Sure.
I thought he was like going to give Sonic a warrior's death, and Sonic ends up killing him and escaping.
Yeah.
No. What happens is that Zavok shows up to have whatever ambiguous conversation he's going to have. Sonic's shackles go, and
they're made of light. They just disappear. Yeah, I like the lights start flashing. The fucking cage doors open, and his shackles disappear.
And then you fight Zavok.
Yes.
And then Sonic is free, and now Sonic is back into the fray.
Yeah.
But before he leaves the Death Egg, he goes and rescues your Avatar, who off screen was literally about to be murdered.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first indication the plot was maybe going to rely on convenience moving forward.
Yeah, and for context, we were talking about like level 4 here. Like there's not a lot of lead up to this being a high stakes moment. It just all happens because we want to have stakes at the beginning because it's a pretty cool idea for a story. But then we need Sonic back because he's the main character of the game. So let's just get him re-involved in the plot basically as soon as we possibly can.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's not cool. And again, this is my thing. It's not that it's not cool that Sonic breaks out and does this shit. It's just that it's so convenient.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of other shit happens in the narrative. We can bring it up or not bring it up. The other main point that I need to bring up to demonstrate why this narrative just ends up falling apart into it.
Mhm.
I mean, it falls apart completely. But there's a point where it seems like we have the upper hand on Eggman at the end of the game.
Mhm.
But then Eggman has, because you blow up the Death Egg,
Yeah.
and it's a cool scene. Then you're in the city, you're fighting back the final bits of Eggman's forces. The Death Egg needed to be blown up because it was like the power source of the Phantom Ruby.
Yeah.
But actually, Eggman built a secret second power source underneath the city, this Metropolis.
Called Metropolis.
Yeah. So Sonic and the Avatar get sucked into what's called null space. And so all of a sudden, we're at this point where I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, textual analysis here again for a moment.
Yeah.
This is where classic Sonic becomes important. And it becomes almost a subtextual understanding of Sonic forces, meaning that we cannot leave classic Sonic behind. Classic Sonic is the hero of the day. I thought there's going to be something there, right?
That's not bad. That's not bad.
But in actuality, Tucker, and you know this.
Yeah, I've played the game. Yeah.
We are in null space for the extent of one cutscene and one quick time event. Yes. Because after hammering on this button to do the duo boost,
yep,
for 3 seconds, you hit square, and then you're rocketed out of null space. And then it never matters.
Yes, because we talk about this cutscene where there's the stakes of he's getting sucked into this dimension where no one can get out. Literally nothing exists there, so whatever. And Tails like, no, holy shit, Sonic is fucking gone. And Eggman and Infinite are like, he's never come back. This is fucking crazy. And the Avatar saves him, but is sucked in there. Like, oh my god, oh my god. You know, you should be going, oh my god, because that's what they want you to do. And Sonic's like, actually, I don't really want to be here anymore. And then they just use their power of friendship and break a hole in reality with the power of friendship. It is not, like, even on some bullshit, crazy comic book video game level way, there isn't an explanation for this other than we wanted stakes, but actually the stakes would mess up the flow of the game because we need to wrap it up soon, and we don't have time to make a fucking null space background level that is some way different gameplay wise. So they're just gonna get out of there.
Yeah. And it's emblematic of how this story just falls apart.
Yeah.
That said, Tucker, before we move on to the gameplay, I want to say that I enjoyed the story. And this is where the guilty pleasure, this is one of the many places where the kind of the guilty pleasure is going to become very important here. Because I am able to fill in the blanks myself.
Sure.
Which, again, is why I am not going to at any point be defending the game objectively. But subjectively, I can fill in the gaps of this larger narrative. And I love the idea of Knuckles being this resistance leader and them having this basically Yavin 4 base that they're in, where everybody congregates. All of the fucking animal people who used to be turned into the badniks in the early games now have fucking guns and they're going out and fighting each other. We get a humongous CGI sequence that is basically just like this the part from Dune when the Fremen rise up, like Paul Atreides flash forward, you know, when they're just everybody fucking running at each other in the desert.
Yeah,
we get that with Sonic characters. That's fucking cool.
It's cool unless you actually like look in the background where all the avatars are equally spaced and they're doing the same like 4-frame animation and it's the same character model copy and pasted.
Again, you're completely right. However, it's cool. And the game also has moments of incredible spectacle. Sure. And the spectacle ties into the gameplay. Because so much of this gameplay is automated. And it's like the worst excesses of Sonic. Yes. As I want to talk about. But my final point in the narrative is that I'm able to buy in.
Yeah, I do think it's something that is on high concept if I was more invested in Sonic's characters or their friendships or knowing. Frankly, I don't even really know who Silver is, like, or Vector. Like, I've seen these characters before, but I don't know anything about them. So when they show up in story, or fucking Omega, when Omega shows up at the end of the story, it's like, what the fuck is it? What is happening here? Like, none of these moments are exciting to me because I don't have any resonance or history with these characters. Yeah. But I'm also hindered from wanting to be involved in these characters by the fact that the cutscenes are totally fine in their animation and their voice acting and that stuff. But on a technical level, they're marred quite a bit. There's a weird amount of lip sync error. Like a lot, the main cutscenes at the end are not synced up to the audio, which is really peculiar. About half the story is told through dialogue boxes on the level select screen, and in the cheapest possible way. There's an animation where when Vector is talking, his mouth goes, and I'm like, oh my fucking god. And I think one thing that pervades both the gameplay and the story, which I think is a nice connecting bridge, is
Yeah.
this game has the worst audio mixing I have ever heard in a video game. I don't know how they managed to fuck this up. You
Yeah.
just tweak the levels and the fucking thing. I mean, I don't know how sound mixing works. I don't know how video game development works, but I can't imagine it's particularly difficult to fix the sound mixing because they've got crazy sound effects, they've got songs with lyrics, they've got dialogue that's not properly balanced to the level of the music. It's so insane that you can't. I personally found it almost impossible to want to be involved in this
Yes.
because I was trying to be like, Shadow, speak up, buddy. I can't fucking hear you. I know what you're saying because I can read on thing, but this music's way too loud, and it was really frustrating.
There is some crazy amateur hour shit in this game and some of the later cutscenes where there is like fully vocalized music tracks with
Yes.
intense dialogue conversations happening over them.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like fucking rule one of framing any kind of scene,
Yeah.
you can't do that. So it makes no fucking sense. But to the point about the character voices, you're right that the very static. I actually do like the world map because it's basically like a war table.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a completely superfluous, completely pointless concept of like a percentage of like the planet that
Earth,
Sonic controls,
Yeah.
Dr. Eggman controls. And I like all that animation and everything. But what I really like is like the game actually has a Star Fox 64-esque quality to me in its characters.
Okay.
And the reason I say this is because there'll be parts in Star Fox 64 and Star Fox Zero, I think actually does a little bit more, where you're in a space battle and like fucking Bill and Kat are chattering at you. And there's a sense that like there's a fucking war going on. And I think one of the few times that the terrible audio mixing, the absolute chaos accidentally works in the game's favor is like when you're in the later levels and fucking random dog number 7 pops up and is like, Sonic, I'm giving you air support, but I gotta pull back. And there's fucking too many sounds and everything's all going to shit. But there's something about that energy that, again, subjectively,
Yeah, of course.
I liked. Objectively, you are correct.
Yeah, no, it's just very interesting that you're able to read into it like that, which I don't think is invalid because you're right on like a crazy level, but you know, and they have to fucking know that that's not intentional.
No,
that's
it's
not
accidental.
that was not by design. That
No.
shit, okay, the overwhelming odds of this war and these
No.
background NPCs who you know their microphones aren't that good because they're the resistance and they don't have the money. It's like no, they didn't turn up the like they messed up the volume. Like it's really kind of funny that you're able to get something out of that. But you know, I think it's fun that you were.
Last thing I want to say before we get into the gameplay.
God damn it.
I think this soundtrack goes fucking crazy.
It's good. Yeah, I don't know complaints with the soundtrack.
Like
Poorly used at times. Let's be
absolutely
honest.
correct about that. But this is like this is a premium. This is a AAA soundtrack. Fucking so many vocalized tracks, a lot of really banging themes, high energy. This to me is a really genuinely great Sonic soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and again, that's why I said I will praise the game objectively almost never. But one of my few exceptions is the soundtrack because I think the soundtrack is quite good.
Yeah, I don't have any complaints with it. I'm not a rock music person, so like these tracks don't stay in my head, but I recognize that they're high quality. I think the problem with the soundtrack comes from the fact that they do all fit the same energy, so it gets a little bit repetitive, a little bit grating once you've heard this behind every scene, no matter what its tone is for 3 hours straight. But like when you're listening to the tracks by themselves, sure, good songs. Like this isn't fucking Yoshi's Island DS or whatever. It's grating on your ears.
It's not fucking kazoo music.
Yeah.
And I was also surprised by the number of times that I was hearing a new vocal track under stage, which is part of why I think it's quite an impressive soundtrack.
But here's the problem. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about my problems with Sonic and why I think this is emblematic of that. Okay. And again, we both recognize this is not a good example of what Sonic's gameplay can do, and I'll never claim for that. But what this game did is it was an externalization of why I thought Sonic gameplay wasn't very good. I often found myself to be pretty impressed by the level detail, the backgrounds quality, the amount of stuff going on. But what this game does on a gameplay level is zip you by it so fast because Sonic is fast that it becomes very visually overwhelming and grating. And then, of course, on a technical level, on a platform level, a lot of things are really just not balanced well. And from my subjective experience and what I thought Sonic was like is, man, the speed does not. The speed and the slow platforming parts are at odds with each other,
Yeah.
Which I think they very much are here.
Yes.
The speed doesn't complement the level design in the background because if you stop to listen to the dialogue or look at the backgrounds, you're not paying attention to Sonic. Like, there is a lot that this game does that made me be like, man, I was right. And it was, man.
So it's complicated.
Sure. Okay.
In the context of this game, you're 100% right. I think that's why I'm so excited for you to play a better Sonic. Did you actually, Insider Baseball, you were almost buying a copy of Sonic Generations yesterday, did you?
I didn't, no. I bought like 3 games recently. I don't need to buy them.
Can I give you my Steam login? Is that something Steam is mad about?
It's not on Mac, so I wouldn't be able to play it.
Oh, okay. Well, so here's my point. I'd be very curious to hear you apply these criticisms to a Sonic game that has good level design, because your problems here, in my opinion, come from the fact that the level design in Sonic Forces is objectively terrible.
Yeah.
I think Sonic at its best is so fast that the spectacle becomes impressive and the spectacle harmonizes with the mechanics to the point where, and I was talking to Daniel Navaroli in your Discord about this. In my opinion, at Sonic's best, you're basically like, it's like fucking jazz music. It's all about improv.
Sure.
You're zipping along and you're making split decisions, and those split decisions never lead you wrong.
Sure.
They never lead you to your death. They never lead you to a fucking warped game pace. The best Sonic stages, no matter where you jump, take a high path, low path, miss something, you are going to be on like a branch of the butterfly effect of a Sonic level towards the goal.
Sure.
And I think that there's an incredible beauty and a real mastery to designing stages that are that flexible to where you can be basically like diving and weaving through a pass. That's amazing. I really think that's incredible level design.
But it does not apply to Sonic Forces.
No, because the cornerstone of that is a sense of like player-driven momentum. And I think even Sonic Generations is guilty of taking that control away from you at times. But what makes, I think, especially the classic Sonic games really amazing is that there is, other than when you're going through a loop or a corkscrew or something, and even in that case, you have to affect the momentum to get through those properly. Like, good Sonic means you need to have agency over your momentum and the pace of the game. I say all this to say that none of anything that I just praise Sonic for on the whole, and what I'd like to hear your thoughts on in a good context, is present in Sonic Forces at all. Because Sonic Forces, these stages are all 90 seconds too short, first of all.
They're very short. I think the longest amount of time I ever spent at level was like maybe 4.5 minutes.
The longest I spent on a level is 8 minutes. And the reason being is because the game jerks you back and forth in the pace so often that I got to one stage at the end, basically when it's the avatar is here to save the world. Only one, because he's got like a reverse Phantom Ruby or something. Who fucking cares?
Yeah, it's a prototype, I believe, and he's the only one who can activate it for
yeah.
reason.
He has to get to the top of this high structure, but all of a sudden the game stops. There is no momentum anymore.
And the auto-scrolling level, oh my god!
I'm not even talking about the auto-scrolling level, which, by the way, is terrible. We'll talk about that. But I'm talking about the stage where you have control over the pace, but it is like these just platforms, and there's fucking like plasma that floats around them and like electrocutes you.
Oh yeah, that's a really bad level. Yeah,
I died on that level. I went from dying rarely, if ever, to dying literally 12 times on that stage because I could never get into the rhythm of it because there was no rhythm there, because all of a sudden momentum is killed and you have to jump in the base mechanics here feel terrible. The jump feels terrible. It does not carry properly in the air. And so all of a sudden I'm trying to platform and I'm being hit by these fucking electrical things, which then shoot me down in bottomless pits to my doom. The level design is terrible.
Yeah, I think that a lot of this game tries to have variety in a certain way in that, hey, this part of the level is going to be the classic Sonic level design where you're zipping around and you're shooting through tubes and all that, and then we're going to stop. And okay, Here's a little actually platformy section. Here's the part where you're gonna have to deal with some enemies, but of course the enemies are all taken out in one hit because you've got the giant fucking flamethrower that kills them all immediately. Oh, okay, and then we're gonna do a little cutscene. There's gonna be a little thing. Like, there's so much going on in these levels that it doesn't feel cohesive at all. It just feels like they're trying to do an entire game's worth of variety in each level and then repeat that 30 times. And I think that's why I found no particular section of this game memorable unless it was frustrating me, because this game is essentially, except for the parts where you're dying and you're frustrated by the level design, is automatic. It fucking plays itself. You're doing so many cutscenes, you're doing so many parts where Sonic is just going based off of momentum that I was able to, and I think incentivized to, due to the lack of engagement with the level design, just turn off my brain and be like, yeah, I'm going to get to the end of the stage and then I'm going to see the next cutscene. And that's really what it became for me, just a loop of that.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Like, again, it goes back to I need to have agency over the game to feel like the rhythm of Sonic is right.
Yeah.
So I'm playing Sonic Colors Ultimate right now. Immediately started playing that after Forces. And Sonic Colors Ultimate with the wisps often does take away your control, and it does become a little bit more cutscene-y. But you have to activate that. You have to position the wisps. You have to aim them, right? There is a sense of initiation there. And even when you're fucking charging fast as Sonic and you're boosting, and then you go into a sequence where you're just like homing attack, it feels more deliberate. Here, there's a homing attack stuff, but there are so many times when it is full on cutscene that you're not even initiating.
Yeah.
It's the avatar is gonna use his grappling hook to fucking like drift around a corner, and this is gonna happen. Or the most egregious one, in my opinion, is that classic Sonic stage. Not only with the auto scrolling, which you should never have auto scrolling in Sonic. No. First of all. Second of all, there's a part, and it made me laugh every time, where you stand on these platforms that go 3, 2, 1. And then as a ball, Sonic is picked up and he goes
for a long fucking time.
For a long time.
And you do like 6 times this fucking stage.
And when classic Sonic already does not feel good to control, when it does not feel like his speed builds properly as you run, to be brought to a staggering halt, have to wait for 3 seconds and then go ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, pop. It's so emblematic of how I feel like this game doesn't even understand how Sonic should move and how the player should direct that movement.
Yeah, so here's what's interesting about all this. I really found these 2D stages to be visually cluttered, very, very frustrating in their design, very frustrating in their momentum and the enemy layout and all that. But I actually think that those are the parts where I was engaged with the game the most. I do think that I think what people call the boost formula, Sonic, where you're going down basically just roads and there's enemies in the way and you're using your homing attack for everything. I found those to be even worse, because I do feel like that's where the autopilot of the game really goes on the rails. I'd say off the rails, but you're on rails for a lot of this game. It goes on the rails because the enemies pose no threat if you're attacking. The level design only branches occasionally, but then reconverges seconds later. There's no flexibility to this unless you're trying to go for the red rings, which is, as far as I can tell, just unlock more optional times to play through the stage. Again, I watched the completionist video on this game, and it's fucking crazy how much stuff they put in here that is just doing the same shit over and over again. So, well, I really do think that the 2D Sonic levels and sections of the levels are bad. I do think that they are the best part of this game, at least in my opinion, from a design perspective and an engagement perspective.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm also like, I'm excited to play, because Colors is just modern Sonic.
Okay.
And so I'm excited to and that game's also widely liked. I'm excited to experience some more boost Sonic in a better way before I really have a verdict on which style Sonic I like more. But I will say that boosting here does not feel very good.
No.
And it's so inconsistent. Like, I would fucking just fly off stages sometimes. And when I was boosting in a ways that I think better boost Sonic does not allow for.
Sure, I mean, I would certainly hope not, but I think that has more to do with the level design.
Yes.
Of the fact that, yes, this is on rails for the most part, and it's very automatic, it's very autoplay, but there are moments where they'll give you a burst wisp, and you have to, or whatever, and you have to charge through enemies because they're in your way, and they're going to fucking do damage to you if you don't kill them. Right. And the only way you can kill them is use your fucking boost. And then there just will not be a wall on the other side of these enemies. And you'll shoot off the track, and because the checkpointing is so segmented to, okay, you're gonna do this boost segment, you're gonna do this 2D segment, and that's when the checkpoint's gonna happen. You have to play the entire thing over again.
Right.
And while you said you didn't die a lot until that really annoying section at the end, I was dying pretty consistently throughout, not to where it was levels were taking me significantly longer, but where I would have to play them again, just feel like I was going through the fucking motions again.
Sure.
I've seen this cutscene, I've seen this animation, I know exactly where these enemies are, and it's not because I died to any fault of my own, but because why the fuck would they design the level this way where I'm just going to die in a pit due to the momentum that I thought I needed to carry in order to get through this?
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah.
So fucking frustrating.
It just speaks to the fact that, as we know, as was confirmed, the development was scrapped on forces and restarted
Yeah,
and rushed, and it shows.
it
It just
definitely
shows.
does. Yeah,
And that's super disappointing, but it's what we got. And that gets disappointing because, in spite of these issues, there are parts of the levels that I do like.
sure, okay.
Because, as I said, I don't think, for the sake of the game's quality, it is not good that it takes control away so often. However, for the sake of the spectacle, I think a lot of the stages are pretty cool. And when the stage is fucking falling apart or
Yeah.
transforming, or you're fighting a big robot and it's attacking the stage and you're jumping through it and everything, like, there's a level of spectacle here which is really exciting and engaging and feels super blockbuster.
Yeah.
And when I was having fun, even when the interactivity wasn't quite there, or some of the boss battles range in quality,
Well, yeah.
really range in quality, but the fights against, like, Infinite when you're Sonic, or I forget if you fight, I forget, because I'm getting all Sonic games mixed together I've been playing recently, but like, the basically on the stages where you're running as Sonic, trying to
Yeah.
catch up and boost and attack a boss, like, that stuff is good. And
Yeah,
I
it's fine.
also really
It's
like
used the
the
same way like 4 times, but
yeah, I also like the stages where Sonic and the Avatar are running together.
sure.
I think that's a compelling way to mix the Wisp-on weapons of the Avatar with boost, and that makes a more, like, mechanically complicated experience. So again,
Mhm.
there's a lot of ideas here that I really loved, and when those moments were happening, I was having a good time, because ultimately it's not it's playable by being less playable, if that makes sense, to where
No,
you just get lost in the spectacle, and the spectacle can be really cool.
yeah, I actually I do agree, and I was thinking this when I was like getting just a little bit into the game, and I was pretty frustrated by essentially every aspect of it. I was trying to reach for these glimmers, and I was like, okay, the cutscenes where the Avatar does his grappling hook and
Yeah.
he swipes around the bottom of the thing like fucking like Star Wars Episode 5. Like there's all these little moments that I think on their own
Yeah.
serve as a fun visual moments. Like, oh, this is what the speed and the
Yeah.
energy of Sonic can do. And especially I do think that maybe the highlight of this game for me in terms of spectacle is when you're escaping the Death Egg and you're on these rails through space and Sonic jumps on these ships and he's flying over the bottom of the Death Egg and shit's exploding in the background. Like there is a spectacle of that
Yeah.
if it was a cutscene, it would probably be just as engaging from a spectacle perspective. And then the control is very limited. But those are the moments where I was able to, where I felt that the spectacle and the complexity of the stages and the background and all that worked with the gameplay because I wasn't doing very much with the
Yeah.
gameplay. Unfortunately, most of the stages you have to engage with gameplay. You have to pay attention where fucking Sonic is, or he's gonna fall off the stage if you lose him, and then you can't pay attention to the background. Like there's a push and pull between where I think the quality of the game is in
Yeah.
these giant backgrounds with all the things going on and the complexity of everything, but you can't pay attention. You can't notice that, or else you're gonna not do very well in the game. So the push and pull of all of these elements certainly uh, faces more towards negative on all of it. It's like, okay, well, I wish I hadn't gone there. This is the side that's less polished. This is the side that's less quality. Why does there even have to be a balance in this that doesn't work? And I think what you said at the beginning of it feeling just amateurish is absolutely true. And I think that is categorically true because I believe what I heard is there are 3 level designers for this game, 2 of whom had never made a video game before. And I do think that shows.
Yes. Yeah. It's just, yeah. It shows. There's only so many ways to say that.
Yeah. Well, anything else to say about Sonic Forces? Any other aspects of this game that are touched on? We've pretty much covered everything.
I think we've covered everything. Like I said, I had fun with the game. I think the fact that it's so short helps.
Mm-hmm.
I beat it in 2 settings, but I could have beaten it in 1.
Yeah, I beat it in 2 as well.
Yeah. Only
My,
because
my play clock was under 3 hours.
yeah, yeah, which is doable in 1 sitting easily. And so from that lens, almost like a feature-length Sonic game with these interesting concepts, with some fun spectacle set pieces, with some engaging, albeit incredibly campy and poorly executed narrative sequences, resulted in a game that I had fun with.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Sonic Forces. But
I think that's the name of the video right there. I like Sonic Forces ... But
yes, the game is not good at all. It is.
no,
I think it is easily the worst Sonic game I've ever played. I think that it is lucky that there is a sense that there's a spark of creativity here. That is the only thing that makes its laundry list of objectively terrible facets palatable for me.
sure, yeah. I do want to say the last thing that is sort of a push and pull for me is the customization of the avatar, which I said I do think
Yes.
is one of the few unique elements of this game that does work to almost its fullest potential. However, finishing a stage and having to hammer the fucking X button as it goes chwing, 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 and showing you all the shit that you're never gonna fucking wear, that is really that really ground the pacing of the game to a halt. I do think that I could probably have cut off 15 minutes of my fucking playtime, or total playtime, if I didn't have to hammer X through all these godforsaken collectibles,
Yeah.
which are entirely superfluous. Fuck you, Sonic Forces. Yeah!